But no, dude, I just love this instrumental. Do you hear how elaborate and versatile the repertoire of instruments is? And this is such a great flex of that. Hello. Today's a special day. This is a live listen that I'm doing with the boys and girls as well. We don't hate. To Hybrid Theory, which is a Linkin Park album. Now, I grew up with Linkin Park. I think a lot of us here have complicated relationships with them, where Hybrid Theory started me off on even enjoying music as albums. Meteora took me through the most angst in my life that I've ever carried, and Minutes to Midnight carried me throughout university. And yeah, it was quite an emotional journey. I mean, it carried me out throughout like the first 3 years, and I did 6, so it was yeah. I only know the biggest hits. Well, you're in luck because this album is so incredibly solid, and it completely, in my opinion, it completely stood the test of time. I've gone back to it several times since, and I've even gone back to the live performances because I really appreciate all of Linkin Park's live performances because they always try to include something different. There was always extra verses, extra lines. There's interesting stuff like that. Even if they're performing it vanilla, it's still pretty good. But, yeah, kind of want to go back to it and sort of vibe with other people how this album has aged. This album is pretty much 20 years old, almost 21. Okay? We're going to listen to it in order. We're going to try to look at lyrics, even though I have some pretty strong criticisms for the lyrics. Yeah, R.I.P. Chester, of course. I looked up to him, Mike, and Han a lot growing up. So it's hearing about it was really rough. But yeah, the day I found out, I just listened to Minutes to Midnight, and I sort of allowed myself to grieve for a second. And hopefully make a better environment so that people don't have to feel that way again. I'm so glad you joined too, because the last Linkin Park trip I went on was with Z. Actually, we were driving his car. And we were sort of coming back from a road trip, and we just listened to like 3 albums in a row, right? Just for like nostalgia's sake. Because we all went through the phases where like, oh, we could only listen to Linkin Park, and now we hate and are critical of Linkin Park, and then we just come back to it with the rose-tinted glasses and all the good memories and all the angst it saved us from. And you just don't fucking understand, Mom. Yeah, all of that. Miss those days. All right, boys. Aridin, I hope you're ready. Because we're going to go through the whole album. This is Hybrid Theory. Track number 1 is the phenomenal Papercut.
Something in here's not right today. Why am I so uptight today? Paranoia is all I got left.
mean, for the time, it's very easy to tell why this was revolutionary in terms of nu metal. Not revolutionary, but incredibly consistent. There's no boundaries pushed, but so much of the established motifs in the genre have been perfected. But as you can see, by the way, the backing chorus is Chester too. And the thing that fucking struck me is, look at how many people worked on this fucking song. Jesus Christ. I mean, there's some repetitions, but Jesus. Like, they make it seem like, yeah, Hana's only on the turntables. But, wow. The sheer number of collaborators is kind of insane. You know, I was under the impression that Han did a lot of the production, but I don't think that that's true anymore. And I like how he's credited as MC, and I like how it's spelt. I guess I'm not used to that. Like, I guess I didn't really look at it this way. I mean, the song is great. It's a great fucking opener. And it's a great introduction, too, given that, like, dude, even the Afterbirth, even any Afterbirth that came out of Hybrid Theory, like My December and all the such, these were all fucking fantastic, too. No, I'm not shocked. It's just that I guess, like, I know that there's whole writing teams when it comes to, like, pop music and whatnot. But, like, you go to a... Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Mixed, mastered, instrumentally written by. The only other credits here are relating to the video. Do you get what I mean? This is the shocking contrast that I've gotten turned away from. What I'm basically trying to, like, feel out is, back then it took that many people, and right now it takes this many people to produce a masterpiece. Peggy is a god among men, that's true, but I guess so. Also, maybe it's not a fair comparison just because of how talented Peggy is and how threatening he is to everyone in general, because of how much of a fucking machine he is. But yeah, music has become way more accessible to start getting into as a career. Exactly right. All the software is readily accessible and way easier to learn. And I can tell you very comfortably that if a project like on the same caliber as Linkin Park were to start today, of course nu metal wouldn't work. But if they were to start as a similar group, I guess the biggest example of that in a very similar way is Brockhampton, because you could draw a lot of parallels, because Mike is the one who edited and produced all the artwork on the covers, and Brockhampton is the same way when they're a creative unit, and they all make their own stuff, right? If they had a little bit more control over the engineering, given what tools are accessible today, like, I think it wouldn't have needed that many people. Yeah, if you go into Mike's recent albums, I'm gonna wager a bet. Yeah, no, nu metal for sure. It still gets music, and I'm sure it gets great music too. It's just that what I mean is that, like, in a pop sense, because the thing about Linkin Park is that Linkin Park was commercially successful, right? It wasn't just that it was an underground hit. It was an overall success. Probably called old metal. It's not even new with a W, by the way. It's NEU or whatever. Right? Is that what it is? Yeah, see here? Only additional vocals. This is the transition in music that I'm talking about, is really fascinating, is that they're all capable of this, but back then, this was not allowed. Just by the sheer nature of what studios needed from you, right? Anyways, it's really fascinating to look back at it, yeah. Back to his One Step Closer.
Not take this anymore. Saying everything I said before. All these words, they make no sense. I find bliss in ignorance. Less I hear, the less you say. You'll find that out anyway. Just like before.
Yeah, I second what Aridin says as well, is that like music like this has not disappeared. It's just not in the zeitgeist. Oh no, for sure. So because they are coming out now, they won't sound good. I disagree. I think that like they can sound good to you and that's perfectly fine. If they have a dedicated number of people that is committed to their music, they can keep making music for those people forever. Yeah. Tom has very little to do with the sound quality. Bro, this album is 20 years old. And we're still bopping to it today. Songs about Hillary's emails aren't going to be added to play. That's depends on how good the song is. But that's the thing, right? It's the more that you abstract the subject matter in your music, the more potential for the music to has that it doesn't become timeless. It's why I agree with Anthony's criticisms of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy a bit, is because there's a lot of contemporary shit that happened then and is being referenced then, and it sort of immortalized a moment in time that if you don't have a contextual understanding of where that moment came from, everything just whooshes you, right? So it's subject matter. It's like, what do you want to talk about that could be talked about again in 20 years, right? You can't really anticipate what will get a hold of the cultural zeitgeist and work over that. It seems too artificial. Songs as time capsules can be interesting. We didn't start the fire in the year 2050. Again, yeah, so many more things to say here in the credits. But I guess as the songs get more sonically straightforward, there would be less people involved in the engineering department, as it seems. Next track is With You.
To the cold of the static, put my cold feet on the floor. God, about yesterday. Remembering, I'm pretending to be where I'm not anymore. A little taste of hypocrisy, and I'm left in the wake of the mistake, slow to react. You're so close to me, you're still so distant, and I can't bring you back. It's true, the way I feel was promised by your face. The sound of your voice painted on my memories. Even if you're not with me, I'm with you. Now I see, keeping everything inside. Now I see, even when I close my eyes.
Aridin, you couldn't be more right. This is where I really, really agree with you. The fuck? Oh yeah. The industrial influence is where this track shines. And I feel like in general, even though my favorite Linkin Park project is Minutes to Midnight still, I think that Linkin Park shines their best when the sound is grimy, when it's dirty, when the mix is dirty, when the mix is industrial, when the sounds are abrasive. I think that this is where they shine the most, which is why I tend to enjoy Meteora on private listens more, but I still think that this is the most consistent thing because this is a debut album. A debut album needs to sort of be like, we can do all of this, right? And this one being aggressive, I do agree with you, I guess, but I don't know how much that was intentional. I don't know how much of that was intentional. I think stylistically speaking and thematically, they haven't really progressed. And well, this was my first introduction into album consumption, right? I guess the pleasure of consuming this as an album comes more from the fact that the sonic motifs are consistent and they sort of progress and develop and are like tweaked every now and again. And it's very pleasing sonically, but the narrative presence is pretty minimal, as far as I'm seeing. Next song also do be good. Yeah, I don't think this album has a lot of weaknesses. My favorite track, I actually really, really like Han's tracks on... I don't know if you knew that, but Han has a track on pretty much every album. Yeah, where it's just like DJing and it's really really fucking good. Anyways, this next track is Points of Authority.
Forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame and put your name to shame, cover up your face. You can't run the race, the pace is too fast, it just won't last. You love the way I look at you while taking pleasure in the awful things you put me through. You take away if I give in. My life, my pride is broken. You like to think you're never wrong. You live what you do. Think the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame. Put your name to shame, cover up your face. You can't run the race, the pace is too fast, you just won't last. Forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame. Put your name to shame, cover up your face. You can't run the race, the pace is too fast, you just won't last.
Now, as somebody who's memorized all these songs by heart growing up and has angstily walked around with this song playing in his ears really loudly as I struggled to hold tears in because the lyrics made me feel so understood, bro. This is quite fascinating. It's quite fascinating that I find myself able to be critical of it, but I still can't really dislike it. I love this with every. It's such a solid fucking album, and yeah. Do you agree, Aridin, that I think the individual elements of the sound haven't aged poorly at all. I think the only thing that makes this sound dated is the mixing. It's hard to separate the instruments for me. And I've heard so many other like albums and whatever it is using the same set of headphones. And I don't think it's my headphones that are broken. I just think that it's not mixed that well. I think that the mix is crowded. I know I'm saying it does sound dated, but not because of the individual elements. I feel like this could have been made at any real time period. It's just that I think it would have been mixed better today. Because it seems like while like the do you know how it seems like there aren't any real layers? It seems like it's too compressed. I mean, analog will always be, but you could see that like how much of like I know that like the drums are recorded analog, but like all of these are recorded separately. It's not like they're recorded in a live session. I've seen how they record. Everything is recorded separately and then mastered separately as well. But I do appreciate that, like, I guess all the instruments are, like, everything is played but played individually. It's not like this is a recording of a live performance, right? It's very easy to expect a live performance to be flat, but this isn't live. No, I think I'm probably overthinking it. Like, you and I have had very, very detailed discussions about this type of shit before, so maybe I'm just overthinking. Anyways, next one's a fucking classic, Crawling. Okay, dudes. Can you tell, Aridin, that this one is a lot cleaner than the last one? For whatever fucking reason, the mix is like when they're trying to be industrial, the sound is like unrelentingly dirty. But here, it's very easy to separate the keyboards from the rest. And it really feels layered. I don't know. I want to look at who engineered which. Because this is a different boy. Don. Andy. Hey, Andy. You're good. Andy Wallace is a good person that mixes shit. I feel like it was made with the intention of being a single, rather than the song becoming one after the. That's interesting as well, because I've seen a lot of interviews with Mike where they do make these deliberate moves into what's a single and what's an album track. And this is why I grew to dislike rock musicians in the larger case, is because they have a clear differentiation between like, oh, that's just an album track. We don't perform it live. Like, then why did you make it? Why is it just bloating up the track listing for no fucking reason? I tend to appreciate the fact that like there has been solid attempts that every track in here can stand on its own and be solid. Maybe you can leave in some tracks as like rewards or whatever, but I feel like it's sometimes missing. And I do agree with you 100%. This was engineered to be a single with the way that it sounds. Do you think they invested more of the engineering budget into the things that they thought would become singles? Because I don't know if they actually, let's think about it this way. Do you really think that they approached it with the intention of like, this could be a single or not? Because I don't think that they foresaw commercial success very much. Yeah, the only valid like album tracks are intermissions, and like that's not like, it's why I don't like, sure, I grew up listening to Billy Talent and I liked them a lot, but I stopped liking them after a point because of that. Is that I felt like they disrespected their own discography. Yeah, this one has a little bit more effort put into it than the last one. Not that any of them are bad, guys. This album is a 10 out of 10. Let's just get that out of the way, because if I read any more dumb comments, I'm gonna lose my shit. Watch the fucking video. We're just being critical because we like to criticize things that we like. The fact that they foresaw commercial success is a bit Nostradamus-esque for me. I tend to respect this. Yeah, the next one is by far one of the more forgettable ones. I'll say that. Still a solid entry. Still very much the same, but yeah. You know, that's what's fascinating about this, is that what attracted me to them more is that I actually had a catalog of all the live performances that I could gather. And I had it on my phone before I lost all my data, but I still have it on my laptop somewhere. Like gigabytes and gigabytes of like live performances and even covers that they did live. And it is so fucking admirable that even on Points of Authority, Chester is able to perform the backing vocal and the front vocal at the same fucking time. Like, he'll switch between them. He is just that fucking talented, right? Their live performances are goddamn excellent. They've always been excellent live. A lot of this shit can't be pulled off live, except I guess maybe for Minutes to Midnight is pretty easy, because Minutes to Midnight is like super analog. Pretty clean though.
Under a sky of dust, a constant wave of tension on top of broken trust. The lessons that you taught me, I learned were never true. Now I find myself in question. They point the finger at me again. Guilty by association. You point the finger at me again. I wanna run away, never say goodbye. I wanna know the truth instead of wondering why. I wanna know the answers, no more lies. I wanna shut the door and open up my mind.
Yeah. No, the song is great, but like Airden, what I mean is that in contrast with the other tracks that you're about to hear, just keep in mind, this is track number 6 out of 12. This one will not, it will, I mean, he definitely felt it. It's all genuine. It's just that we've explored this idea on Crawling, right? We've explored, like, the angst, misunderstood, needing of new place type of person before. Then I guess you could uphold that same criticism to every song. All right. Next track is By Myself. Like, it's pretty consistent from Papercut, rises up until a point of authority. It's consistent at Crawling, dips at Runaway, picks up at By Myself, kind of consistent at, like, In the End, because I actually don't like it that much. But A Place Where My Head Forgotten, A Cure for the Itch, and Pushing Me Away are on a different fucking level. Oh no, they definitely collab. I'm just saying that they're parts. But no, because if you notice, the writing credits are, I think, every single member participates in the writing on every song. So, yeah. In the End is so great, but to me, it just hasn't stood the age of time as a classic. Like, even though, no, it has, but it's just like, I don't know. I don't fondly connect to it the same way everyone does. Runaway, you think so? I don't know. I mean, for the year 2000, Henry, this was pretty, this is pretty boundary pushing. All right, this next song is In the End.
It starts with
one thing. I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to explain in due time. All I know, time is a valuable thing. Watch it fly by as the pendulum swings. Watch it count down to the end of the day. The clock takes life away. It's so unreal. Didn't look out below. Watch the time go right out the window. Trying to hold on, didn't even know I wasted it all just to watch you go. I kept everything inside, and even though I tried, it all fell apart. What it meant to be will eventually be a memory of a time I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter.
you, just as far as I can go. For all this, there's only one thing you should know.
I'm gonna admit, even though this, I think that this song is the most overrated one. It's the only one that gave me goosebumps. So there you fucking go. Yeah, Red Sun, I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's a really, really. Please feel free to say anything that you're thinking because I'd really, really like to hear. Because I don't know how much experience you have with this. I'm assuming you're a little bit younger than I am. So you might be hearing a lot of these songs for the first time. You're a year younger than me. That's still a bit young. Which album? The first, second. That's true. Let me look at the lyrics for a minute. Yeah, I do not have anything to say about the song. Jesus. I really don't. It's in the end, dude. It's the Linkin Park song. A Place for My Head is coming up as a personal favorite of mine. This song is A Place for My Head.
I remember back then who you were. You used to be calm, used to be strong, used to be generous, but you should have known that you wear out your welcome, and now you see how quiet it is all alone. I'm so sick of the tension, sick of the hunger, sick of you acting like I owe you this. Find another place to feed your greed, will I find a place to rest? I'm so sick of the tension, sick of the hunger, sick of you acting like I owe you this. Find another place to feed your greed, will I find a place to rest? I wanna be in another place. I hate when you say you don't understand.
Take the best of me, go away. You try to take the best of me.
I am so sick of the tension, sick of the hunger, sick of you acting like I owe you this. Find another place to feed your greed, will I find a place to rest? I'm so sick of the tension, sick of the hunger, sick of you acting like I owe you this. Find another place to feed your greed, will I find a place to rest?
I love this fucking song so much. It is so fucking good. It's mixed really well as opposed to so much of the other ones. And man, it's amazing. Like, it never gets old. None of these songs get fucking old. This song, I'm finding it harder and harder to pay attention to. That's interesting. I don't know. I guess it's just a matter of taste. Yeah, I guess that, like, it's not about it being overbearing because we've consumed really, really overbearing like sounds before. I think this is more about the fact that I will admit myself, even though I think that this is one of the best albums of all time and is definitely one of my favorites, it's all really starting to sound monotonous. Yeah. The same style all throughout. Consistency is quality, but it can also imply a lack of adventure. And a lack of adventure is hard to listen to all in one go. So I know what you mean. Like, some of these songs become background later on. Anyways, my favorite song on this album, just my personal favorite over the years, is Cure for the Itch. This song is Forgotten.
From the top to the bottom,
On the top I stop,
at the core I forgot.
in the middle of my thoughts.
Taking far from my safety,
The picture's there,
the memory won't escape me.
why should I care?
From the top to the bottom,
On the top I stop,
at the core I forgot.
in the middle of my thoughts.
Taking far from my safety,
The picture's there,
the memory won't escape me.
why should I care? There's a place so dark you can't see the end. Skies cocked back, shocked at which can't defend. The rain then sends dripping, acidic questions, forcefully the power of suggestion. Then with the eyes shut, looking through the rust and rotten dust, a small spot of light floods the floor and pours over the rusted world of pretend. And the eyes ease open and it's dark again.
From the top to the bottom,
On the top I stop,
at the core I forgot.
in the middle of my thoughts.
Taking far from my safety,
The picture's there,
the memory won't escape me.
why should I care?
In the memory you'll find me as burning up. The darkness holding me tightly until the sun rises up. The darkness holding me tightly until the sun rises up. In the memory
Joe, I want you to be here for the next one, and Eridan, I want you to be here for the next one as well. But Jesus, this song is so nice. Yeah, Joe, this is the whole point. We can explore music together. Eridan has a surprise album for us at the end that since me and him pretty much have the same music taste, so I'm pretty much looking forward to it blowing my mind. I hope that he didn't hype it up too much. But yeah, we have another album coming up, but Jesus Christ, this is so amazing. It definitely holds up over time, and this is why this album is a classic. Songs like this. It's just, I feel like this is maybe the most underrated Linkin Park song of all time. Maybe just on this album. Again, everyone here has a writing credit because this is just that. This is how they do things, I guess, and it's worked out for them so well. And Jesus Christ, not many views at all. This is one of their underrated cuts. The next track is my favorite, and it's only an instrumental, by the way. I think that what's really fascinating about this specific song, about Forgotten lyrically, is that they've exited trying to describe feelings, and they're describing locations and memories and things like that. And I think this is where the writing shines most of all. I think that this track is one of the stronger written ones because they're able to work with the concept in a much more versatile way, and it's less about subjective feeling and it's more about imagination. Really, really. Yeah. There is a definite monotonous sound that is developing, but it's just the style of the record. And you can't really bring them down for that because it's still really, really high quality stuff. They respect your time, right? And you can tell that they tried their absolute hardest to put that in front of you in the way that it is. So there's a degree of appreciation, but I guess that that's why you can have weaker tracks than others. You know what I mean? It's definitely allowed. Anyways, this next track is A Cure for the Itch. Cure for the Itch. This is Han's track, by the way. There's one on every album.
Folks, we have a very special guest for you tonight. I'd like to introduce...
Let's hear it for the great Mr. Han.
And now for a lesson in rhythm management. Let's begin. All right now, wasn't that fun? Let's try something else.
Yeah, I learned a new way to argue. Whenever you start getting into an argument with somebody, just be like, hey, you're right. You are right. I'm wrong. And no argument will ever happen. It doesn't matter what you believe. All it matters is that you're telling other people what they want to hear. Their existence is eternal agony. It must suck. But no, dude, I just love this instrumental. Do you hear how elaborate and versatile the repertoire of instruments is? And this is such a great fucking flex of that. It is so fucking cool and refreshing to be able to hear it, and just you have the string sections, you have the fucking keyboard sections, and then you have the sampling and the creative use of the turntables. Mwah. So good. Yeah, I love the instrumentals, Eridan. They're so fucking good. Han gets a track. Every album that he does whatever he wants with, and Jesus Christ, it's just so good. Always, dude. Absolutely fucking adore that shit, doggy. I love Han is so fucking good, dude. This is why it's my favorite, is that I go back to it a lot. And Linkin Park instrumentals are so underrated. Yeah, it's one of my absolute favorites too. Now this is the last track on the album, Pushing Me Away. And it's also one of my favorites. I actually really like the live versions of this. It's very, very good. Very, very good. All right. Let's hit up Pushing Me Away.
I've lied to you the same way that I always do. This is the last smile that I'll fake for the sake of being with you.
Everything falls apart, even the people who never frown eventually break down.
The sacrifice of fighting in the light.
Everything has to end, you'll soon find we're out of time left to watch it all
The
unwind.
sacrifice is never knowing why I never walked away, why I played myself this way. Now I see you're testing me, pushes me away. Why I never walked away, why I played myself this way. Now I see you're testing me, pushes me away.
I think this track is a very apt conclusion for the album. I think it's really, really, really nice and a sweet, just write-off song. And I feel like with this song that like you can tell that there is like an inherent exhaustion in in whatever is taking them all throughout the album. And this song is like probably the most honest, and it's really like, and I feel like I disagree with you, Airden, on this one, just because I guess I'm very, very biased when it comes to Linkin Park, right? But I think that the writing here is at its strongest in terms of how consistent it is. This version is, I think, one of my favorites. Like the live performance of this one is what I remember, and the live performance of this like really, really breaks my heart. It's just so fucking sweet.
Thank you.
Like, hear this live. Hear how this was performed live. I think this is the live performance. It always breaks my heart seeing Chester live, dude.
I've lied to you the same way that I always do. faces never knowing.
Yeah, the piano, everything about it, oh man, because this is, and again, I agree with what you said, is that like the context of where this song comes from for me is hearing the live version and being really touched by it. It could be a very, very generic track, but the association that I have with the live version makes it mean way more. Persona 5 music absolutely fucks, and you don't need to hear, you don't need to play the game to appreciate that soundtrack, dude. Yeah. Yeah, the Persona 5 soundtrack is pretty fucking cool, eh? Yeah, they performed this live countless times. It's why In Rainbows from Radiohead means so much more to me when it's performed live, is because I have so many memories watching these live performances and just being so absolutely fucking touched by them. But yeah, dude, this was such a beautiful fucking track. I love this. I love this so much. Anyways, we do album listens every Friday. Please do come over and join us. Thank you so much.